Hi, this is Samuel with Getting Finances Done in 12 Weeks to Physical Fitness, and I'm going to show you how to do your budget if you're just using Excel, and this actually will apply as well if you're doing it on paper. Now, if you're doing it on paper, you can either print out a blank form of this working budget, and then just work on it from there on your paper and fill out the amounts, or you can just take a blank sheet of paper and basically write down the categories on the left and write the income on the top and just format it similar to how this is formatted. Now, the downside obviously of doing paper and pencil is you're going to have to do all your calculations manually, and there is room for error there, so I don't recommend doing it that way, but if that's what works for you, then go ahead and do that. So the first step in starting your budget is to allocate all the money in your current checking accounts and other bank accounts. So let's say, for example, that I have a total of $4,000 in all those accounts. I entered in here, and I'm going to actually enter it as income because I want to see how much I have left to allocate. So there are three scenarios with this money and what I'm going to do with it. The first scenario is I already have it earmarked and reserved for something. So let's say I have a vacation coming up and we already have a couple $1,000s reserved for the vacation. So you'd allocate anything that might be reserved in that way. The second scenario is that you're going to use it for this month's budget. So if that's the case, let's say I've allocated this $2,000 and I have $2,000 left to allocate, but I need to use it this month. I need to be able to eat and do other things with it. So let's start budgeting it for groceries, eat out, whatever. You're going to budget this according to the prioritizations that you made in your master budget. So I'll just put in a few amounts here. And go ahead and do that until it's all the way to zero. Now, so that's the second scenario. The third scenario of what you'll do with these funds is you will use them for next month's budget. So let's say you've already used everything you need from this chunk of money for this month's budget, and you have some left over. Let's say you have the $1,500 left over. Well, I would recommend putting that in one of two places, either Power Money, which I'll explain how to use that in the future coming up, or in your buffer. Now, your buffer is basically a place where you can get a month ahead on your expenses. So if I place it in my buffer, that means I have $1,550 here that I can use in next month's budget. So instead of waiting for that first paycheck and being really tight and waiting until it's deposited in my bank to use it, I don't care when that first paycheck comes because I have $1,500 sitting there that I can use at the beginning of next month and start budgeting with, and then when I do receive my paycheck, then I can put that again into my buffer. So that's what I would recommend. Those are the three scenarios. Now, once you've allocated your current balances, then the next time you're going to look at this is when you receive your first paycheck, and you'll put that in the next income column. So let's say you receive a $2,000 paycheck, and then you go through the same exact process, budgeting out the money or allocating it rather, until your balance is zero here, and you're going to do that according again to the prioritization model that you created in your master budget. So you'll do that with each paycheck. If you receive another $2,000 paycheck, you'll just keep doing that. If you run out of space, you could expand this spreadsheet on your own if you know how to do that, or I would just recommend bunching a couple things together. So let's say you received a third $2,000 paycheck and then you received another $1,000 paycheck. I would just go ahead and make it $3,000, and that extra $1,000 will show up. So that's how you deal with your paychecks coming in. You receive them, you budget them out, and again, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but you'd budget it out to zero, and you'll see that amount at your ending balance. And that's really all you need to do at this point for creating your working budget. This is your plan. This is how much you plan on spending. And you don't really have to do anything else until you get to the end of the month, at which point you'll find out what you actually spent, and you'll enter those amounts into your budget and see what the difference was. Now, I'm not going to go over that process right now. I'll do that in a couple weeks once we're closer to needing to reconcile our budget. But for now, just allocate the money and then use this as a reference to know how much you should spend in each category. So you may want to refer to it frequently if you're tight on your finances. But that's basically it. That'll get you going on your first working budget. And it's very similar to your master budget, so it should be kind of a piece of cake. We're just kind of doing it in real time as we receive the money now. and we are drawing a line in the sand where we say we're going to allocate our existing balance. So you need to look up your existing account balances, put that amount in, and allocate that. So we are kind of putting that stake in the ground, saying this is where we're starting. So that's exciting to get going. Go ahead and start working on it now if you choose to use Excel. If you're using Quicken, see my post on that. And I would recommend using You Need a Budget, which is the best budgeting tool and kind of much more preferable than using a spreadsheet like this. So until next time, this is Samuel Peary with Getting Finances Done.